Nvidia crash round two? Okay, it was a question. I don't want the Nvidia bros coming out of the woodworks to slaughter me. I just want to ask the question. I have some data points that I want to show our audience, and I want to make sure that our investment community is completely prepared in looking at all the possibilities that could be coming our way, not just for Nvidia, but for the broader stock and equity market as well. Now, I could show you this next data point and then probably just end the video right there because it is official. Nvidia just got the Jim Cramer kiss of death. Check it out here, folks. If you are selling off Nvidia's comments about China weakness in data centers, I really think you need to go to DraftKings and get out of your house. That was one of a few bullish tweets that Jim Cramer shared yesterday in regards to Nvidia. Now, the earnings call did blow through expectations yesterday. The stock in after hours was absolutely exploding. And we saw before the earnings report came out, the stock was actually drawing down to about, I think, $640 per share. At the time of this recording, it's at 776, and it opened up the day, I think, well above $700 per share. So in after hours extended trading, it was already recovering. It was already printing a massive green candle, and then the markets opened back up. It's at 776 at the time of this recording. I'll show you the chart here real quick. So as you can see, it closed out yesterday very low, well below 700. But then when it opened back up and all that after hours extended trading, this is that gap up that you see right here. This is the daily chart, right? So we closed off the day yesterday and then we open up today and this thing's already moving back up. And this is in new all-time high territory by far. I remember covering this thing not too long ago and it was at $500 per share. And we were talking about how crazy it was then. Now up here at $700, this thing just keeps on a rolling. But the markets report, or sorry, the earnings report from Nvidia, here's our summary of the earnings call. Nvidia says demand still far exceeds supply for its products. Conditions are excellent for continued growth into 2025. Nvidia spent $9.2 billion in cash on share buybacks. Data center revenue of $18.4 billion is a new record and above expectations. Nvidia has not received licenses to ship restricted chips to China, so they still don't have access there, but they started to ship alternatives to China market in small volumes. Nvidia crushed already high expectations. And so this has caused the stock to print fresh new green candles going up to a new all-time high. And it's pretty incredible to see. But I dug back and I looked back at the charts. And there's something very interesting and something that many people forget about is that Nvidia did have a 68% drawdown in share price after its quarterly report that was released on November 18th of 2021. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because you saw a similar price action in the charts where it was selling off before the earnings report came out. Earnings report comes out and then after hour extended trading and then market opens back up and it goes and it prints fresh new all-time highs. The same exact thing took place November 18, 2021. And so I shared this chart here. I said, guess how great of an earnings report they had before this 68% drawdown for Nvidia. And here's your chart. So this is November 18th, 2021. And you can see right here, it closed the day down, but then it opened up, gapped up here, and then it continued to go print new all-time highs. And this was back at 350 or, 340, I guess, a little over $340 per share. So it did the same thing on that day that the earnings report was due. It was trading down. Earnings report comes out and it gaps up in extended hours trading, opens back up and rips back up to new all-time highs. But that marked the top before it did a 68% drawdown. This is not a cryptocurrency chart. This is Nvidia stock, which is trading very similar to a cryptocurrency chart, right? 68% drawdown through 2022. And people forget about this. All they're looking at is the green candles that are being printed in front of them. They're looking at an earnings report that blows it out of the water. But the numbers have grown substantially. But if you go back, you catch the same vibe reading this press release and earnings report from Nvidia in November of 2021. Nvidia announces financial results for third quarter fiscal 2021, November 18th. Okay. And what you're looking at right here, okay, is your fiscal year 21 Q3. They put this out, okay? And what you see here is it's all breaking numbers right here. Record revenue of $4.73 billion, up 57% from the year earlier. Record gaming revenue of $2.27 billion, up 37% from the year before. Record data center revenue up $1.9 billion, up 162% from a year earlier. And in this most recent earnings report, they're talking about some 250% revenue growth. I don't know if that was just on their data center or if that was overall growth, but nonetheless, they're blowing it out of the water with all these earnings, right? All these fantastic earnings, and everybody gets all excited. We go print fresh new green candles, but then we did a 68% drawdown. I found this post as well that's very interesting data points to consider from Just Dario. He says, this is the Nvidia smoking gun second perspective. Please have a look at the table below where Nvidia in appearance heavily repurchased its shares only in January. Odd, isn't it? Follow me and grab your popcorn. If you do the math comparing Q3 to Q4, Nvidia declares they repurchased 5.3 million shares in Q4 in the table, while in their capital return program, where they left out the detail for the quarter, the amount is 5.1 million shares. If you consider the 2 weeks amount they disclosed in Q3 as repurchases made already belonging to Q4, the average share price of the remaining buybacks is 540 for the remaining 2.5 months. What's the average share price they declared it was repurchased in January alone? 540. Now, from the 13F, we know that there was some heavily selling in Nvidia stock in 2023 year end. How come the price didn't drop so much when Nvidia wasn't apparently actively doing buybacks? Clearly, Nvidia was using call options for January settlement at 540 strike to support the price, forcing dealers to delta hedge and hence compensate the institutional selling. All those options in large notional value started to become 0 days to expiration. Those are options. 0 days to expiration options into January, perfectly timing to trigger a powerful gamma squeeze of the likes we saw countless of times recently. As a matter of fact, through January, Nvidia price went up on a straight line with barely any down day and constantly boosted by a non-stop PR campaign. All this explains the unusual large amount of share buybacks settled in January, quote unquote settled. So now we know Nvidia has been skimming cash out from its share buybacks, plus actively playing with derivatives to forward settle their purchases and leverage dealers' books. Last red flag. In the first 2 weeks of the new year, Nvidia repurchased about 2 million worth of shares. Not accounted in the current quarter, unaudited numbers, that amount represents 10% of the total amount of shares they repurchased in the whole previous year, and you think that they bought right at the very top. Of course not. Those are very likely derivative settlement into the February operational expenses. Think about this. Nvidia before had a pretty consistent history of buying back their own shares, always timing the bottom almost to the tick. What changed all of a sudden and got them to U-turn and start to buy aggressively after the stock already had a massive run? Clearly, they found out a scheme they could gamma squeeze themselves almost legally. Now, we're going to continue to watch this one, folks. For me, it's very interesting to watch from the sidelines. And although, yeah, sure, I've missed out on the Nvidia gains, we've been able to capture significant gains in other markets as well, and particularly the crypto markets, right? I've been trading here once again, trading cryptos, and I've found significant gains doing that. So I'm happy to miss out on Nvidia, and I worry about that downside exposure to another 68% crash like we experienced at the end of 2021 all through 2022. And I believe that our markets are set for another correction very similar. I'm going to show you one last data point to show you that history maybe doesn't repeat exactly, but it often rhymes. And you're seeing the same type of narrative that's being spread in regards to Nvidia as you saw with this stock back in the day. Would you buy this stock? 100 billion plus in revenue, a leader in the hottest tech segment out there, named most innovative company in the world by Fortune for 6 years in a row, celebrity CEO and founder, 125% stock price appreciation in 6 months. If you said yes, you just bought Enron in June of 2000 before the whole thing collapsed and came down. Now, I'm not here to compare Nvidia to Enron with a direct comparison 100%. I'm just here to say that there's some parts that rhyme. There's some parts that hit. And the mania that we now find ourselves in, I think, is very similar to the dot-com bubble. Data points that take us back to the great financial crisis. It's all there for everyone to see and for you guys to make your own investment decisions. I just wanted to share these data points. I know that many people in the crypto space are interested in Nvidia, And so I think it's important to note that we have an AI hype cycle, we have a crypto hype cycle. It's all converging right now. And I'm not going to stand in front of Nvidia going all the way up to $1,000 per share. I'm not going to stand in front of this freight train, okay? But I'm going to happily sit on the sidelines, and I'm not going to try to expose myself to something that could fall off by 50, 60, almost 70%, just like it did back in 2022. Okay, I've already got myself exposed to that side, that much downside pressure in the cryptocurrency space. I don't need any more exposure to that type of risk. But God bless everybody that does. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about Nvidia and this broader stock market. Is this the end of the party? Is Nvidia the next Enron? I'm not ready to go that far. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys have to say, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.